The fire crackles in the darkness. Somewhere beyond the flickering light, yellow eyes watch, waiting. In the heart of Namibia's vast desert, where ancient rivers carve through endless sand, something terrible is about to happen. A friendship forged in conservation. A lioness named for her gentle spirit. A man who dedicated his life to protecting the very creatures that roam this wilderness. But tonight, in the shadow of the skeleton coast, nature will reclaim what was never truly tamed. This is the story of Bernd Kebbel and Charly, two souls bound by the desert, separated by species, united in tragedy. The Hoanib River, a ribbon of life cutting through one of Earth's most unforgiving landscapes. Here, where elephants have learned to survive without water for days, where lions hunt under stars that shine brighter than city lights, a love story was written between man and beast. But love stories in the wild don't always have happy endings. Bernd Kebbel was not your ordinary businessman. At 59, this German-born entrepreneur had built an empire selling off-road vehicle equipment through his company, the Off-Road Center. But his true passion lay not in boardrooms or profit margins. It lay in the red sand and thorny acacia trees of Namibia. There was a silent donor that always stepped in whenever we experienced problems, recalls the Desert Lion Conservation Trust. A vehicle breakdown, an urgent need for equipment, this support was invaluable. It was only years later that we learned our silent supporter was Bernd Kebbel. Since 2010, Bernd had poured his heart and fortune into protecting Namibia's desert-adapted lions. These weren't zoo animals or circus performers. These were apex predators who had learned to hunt gemsboks across salt flats, to find water in places where maps showed only emptiness. With his wife Connie by his side, Bernd organized fundraisers that drew hundreds. They designed special caps, each one numbered, each sale funding GPS collars that would help researchers track and protect these magnificent cats. When the conservation project needed a new research vehicle, Bernd didn't just write a check. He personally installed the entire solar electrical system. The conservationists honored him in the most beautiful way they knew how. They named a spectacular black-maned lion after him. XPL-81 Kebbel roamed the Hoanib River between 2007 and 2017, a living monument to the man who had given so much. Bernd wasn't just writing checks from a comfortable office. He and Connie were regular visitors to this harsh paradise, camping under stars that seemed close enough to touch, waking to the sound of gemsbok hooves on gravel and the distant call of lions greeting the dawn. They knew the risks. They respected them. In the desert, respect keeps you alive. Born in November 2015, she entered the world as XPL-114, but everyone called her Charly. From her first breath in the Hoanib floodplain pride, she was special. Researchers watched her grow from a tumbling cub to a sleek huntress, documenting every aspect of her life in the longest-running desert lion study ever conducted. Charly was royalty, not because of bloodlines, but because of presence. She was arguably the most photographed and internationally well-known free-ranging lioness in the whole of Namibia. Her image graced wildlife documentaries that aired around the world. Her story earned Emmy nominations. At 9.5 years old, she was in her prime. 400 pounds of muscle and instinct, with paws the size of dinner plates and canine teeth that could crush bone. Her home was the lower Hoanib River, centered around the wilderness Hoanib Skeleton Coast Camp. But Charly had a secret tragedy. Twice she had given birth to cubs. Twice she had watched them die before they reached 8 weeks old. In the desert, even apex predators face heartbreak. She was lean, always lean. In this landscape where a successful hunt might come once a week, every calorie mattered. Every opportunity was precious. The warning signs had been building for years, like storm clouds gathering on a desert horizon. After COVID-19 shuttered tourism, something changed in the Hoanib. When the safari vehicles returned, the guides seemed different, more aggressive, less respectful. The conservation protocols that had kept humans and lions safely separated began to crumble. The average distance measured between the Lioness XPL-114 Charly and the closest vehicle was an alarming 10.6 meters, reported the Desert Lion Conservation Trust. The protocol called for 50 meters minimum. Some vehicles came as close as 2 meters. Day after day, Charly found herself surrounded by rumbling engines and chattering tourists. 2 vehicles became 4, then 8, sometimes 12, all crowding around her. The constant presence began rewiring her ancient instincts. These actions resulted in an unnaturally high level of habituation, causing the lioness to lose all her natural fear and respect for vehicles and people. In May 2025, the incidents began. Charly started approaching campsites. She would walk right up to vehicles, her golden eyes curious rather than cautious. Rangers reported her lying next to smoldering campfires, drawn to the warmth and the fascinating sounds of human activity. The conservationists raised alarms. They begged tour operators to enforce the protocols. Everyone agreed. Nothing changed. It seemed as though the guides had become rogue, disregarding their employers' instructions. Charly was losing her wildness, one tourist encounter at a time. May 30th, 2025. 2:47 a.m. The Hoanib River lay silver under a partial moon. Bernd and Connie's rooftop tent swayed gently in the desert breeze as they slept, surrounded by friends on what was meant to be another perfect camping trip in their beloved wilderness. Bernd stirred. Nature was calling, and the nearest bathroom was the vast expanse of desert sand. He'd done this hundreds of times before. Climb down the aluminum ladder, walk a respectful distance from camp, take care of business, climb back up. Simple, safe, or so it had always been. As Bernd's feet touched the cool sand, he had no way of knowing that 150 meters away, golden eyes were watching. Charly had been lying near the dying embers of their campfire, drawn by the warmth and the scents that spoke of easy prey. She saw the tent flap open, saw the human emerge, vulnerable and alone. In her rewired mind, this was no longer a creature to fear. This was an opportunity. Bernd took 3 steps into the darkness. Charly moved like liquid shadow, her massive paws silent on sand that would betray even a gemsbox approach. 400 pounds of apex predator, closing the distance in heartbeats. The first Bernd knew of her presence was the whisper of displaced air. Then 2-inch fangs found his neck. The sound was unlike anything his friends had ever heard. Not quite human, not quite animal. A primal scream that spoke of life being torn away.
No,
Bernd.
Please, get away from me!
Connie's voice shattered the night as she fought free of her sleeping bag, adrenaline flooding her system. Around the camp, their friends scrambled from tents, headlamps cutting wild arcs through the darkness. Someone found the vehicle's spotlight. The beam swept across the scene, illuminating a nightmare. Charly had Bernd on the ground, her massive jaws clamped around his head and neck. This wasn't the curious lioness who had charmed thousands of tourists. This was 400 pounds of predator doing exactly what evolution had designed her to do. Get away! Get away!
Stay back.
The shouts came from multiple throats as people grabbed whatever they could find. Camping chairs, flashlights, anything that might drive off the attacking cat. Vehicle engines roared to life. Horns blared, voices screamed. And slowly, almost reluctantly, Charly released her grip. She looked up at the chaos around her with something that might have been confusion. These weren't supposed to fight back. They never had before. She melted back into the darkness as suddenly as she had appeared, leaving behind a silence more terrible than the screaming. When the sun rose over the Hoanib River that morning, it illuminated a changed world. Bernd Kebbel, the man who had given so much to protect Namibia's desert lions, was gone. The irony was brutal and immediate. Killed by the very species he had spent his fortune trying to save. Emergency responders arrived by helicopter from Windhoek, but there was nothing to be done except document the scene and console the survivors. In the harsh mathematics of desert survival, Charly had done nothing wrong. She had simply followed instincts that human interference had corrupted. The news traveled around the world within hours. Headlines screamed the tragic irony. Conservationist killed by lion he fought to protect. Social media exploded with outrage, grief, and the inevitable calls for all lions to be destroyed. But the most heartbreaking response came from Connie Kebbel herself. Through her grief, she issued a statement that would define her husband's legacy. She did not want Charly to die. "This is not what Bernd would have wanted," she said. "He understood the risks. He accepted them because he believed in these animals." For 2 days, wildlife officials tracked Charly through the desert. She hadn't fled far. This was her territory, her home. She continued to show no fear of vehicles or humans, approaching research teams and tourists with the same deadly curiosity that had claimed Bernd's life. The decision tortured everyone involved. Charly hadn't chosen to become habituated to humans. That had been done to her by years of improper tourism practices. She was a victim of human interference as surely as Bernd had been a victim of her predatory instincts. But she couldn't be relocated. Desert lions are territorial, and moving her would mean certain death in another pride's domain. She couldn't be rehabilitated. The habituation was too complete, the behavior too ingrained. On June 1st, 2025, 2 days after killing the man who had fought to protect her species, XPL 114 Charly was euthanized. The most photographed lioness in Namibia died quietly, without the cameras that had documented her entire life. Her death sparked international controversy, with conservationists divided between those who understood the necessity and those who saw it as a betrayal of everything Bernd Kebbel had stood for. Today, the Hoanib River still flows through Namibia's desert heart. Lions still hunt under ancient stars, but something has changed in the mathematics of survival. New protocols govern tourism in the conservancy. Vehicle distances are strictly monitored. The habituation that killed both Bernd and Charly can never be allowed to happen again. In death, they became symbols of a larger truth that wildlife conservationists have always known, but society often forgets. You can love wild animals, you can protect them, you can dedicate your life to their survival, but you can never, ever tame them. And maybe that's exactly as it should be. In the heart of the Hoanib, where the desert wind carries the scent of distant rain, 2 graves mark an eternal truth. In the wild, respect is the only currency that matters. And when respect dies, tragedy follows as surely as sunrise. The desert remembers them both, the man who loved lions and the lioness who forgot to fear.